bit to kind of speed this up?
Well, in terms of infrastructure, I think, Kevin can, and we also have Gracia Check from FEMA who's here. We've gotten approved for, 30 days they approved us?
30 days on Category B and A at 100%.
Okay, and that's more of like the immediate...
So that's on the public assistance side, but this particular county is under an individual assistance major disaster declaration, so we will set up the disaster recovery centers, and we'll have people be able to register for that.
So that's on an individual basis, and so somebody loses their house, and they may need temporary assistance, a hotel accommodation, something like that, they're going to be able to do. Jimmy Patronis, who's here, our CFO, as part of those recovery centers, they're going to have insurance villages. If you look at what Lee County had to deal with, these are massive, massive flood events. And so most of these people who have mortgages and they're in a flood zone probably had to have flood insurance. So they're going to have people that could help with those flood claims. You also have wind damage with the traditional homeowners insurance policy. So that's going to be important. In terms of the overall infrastructure, obviously we'll seek federal support for that, but we're also, Florida, we're well positioned financially right now to get through this. We have the largest budget surplus we've ever had, and we've worked very hard, of course, to keep the economy open and make this a state people wanted to be in. And so we're seeing historic reserves, even as we've continued to break records with the revenue coming in with no income tax and low taxes. They revised it in August saying, okay, Florida's getting more revenue. And then in September, we're like $300 million over what they estimated. So we have put an emphasis on infrastructure, partially because the state is growing, but we understand in a situation like this. We had a bridge knocked out with Hurricane Sally because you had a barge that was left loose and it rammed in the bridge. So we were able to fix that, but it's not something that happens overnight. So to me, I think the more issue is, we'll have resources between federal and state and local. I'm pretty confident that, but it's okay. This is an island that you're not going to be able to access by car until that is done. And so what's going to be the plan to do? And that's just going to be something we're going to consult with the local leaders at the city level and at the county level to try to figure out what the best is. But when you deal with these things, you stabilize, you provide the help with people, but you want to get back to some semblance of normalcy as quickly as possible. And it's going to be harder in some areas than others. But I want to, let's work on Sanibel and let's bring it back to where it was as soon as we can.
Governor, for properties that were totally wiped out, how should it be determined if flood insurance or wind coverage should be appropriate? And how was that determined during Mexico Beach?
Well, so that's kind of an age-old thing on these storms. You'll have disputes because obviously if you have both policies and you file a flood claim, the flood is going to want you to file the wind claim. The wind is going to want you to file the flood claim. What I would say is when you have surge that's 10, 14 feet, when you have 6 feet of water in somebody's home, to me, that's a flood claim. And it doesn't mean that they may not have also suffered wind damage, because as we know, it was a really significant thing. But wind alone is not going to cause the 6 feet of water. That's a flood event. And it's not just in the barrier islands, which of course had a lot. You go in some of the places in Lee County, that are close to the river and some of these inlets, you had massive, massive rising waters. And so that's just something we do. That's what was happening with some of the folks who did not do the evacuation. They were hunkering down, and their homes, I think, were totally fine to handle even a really strong wind event. The problem is if the water is rising, you're in your living room, it's a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, they're the ones that were calling saying, hey, this is a big problem, and of course it is. So I think at the end of the day, in Lee County, I think most of the claims are going to be flood claims. I think in Charlotte, maybe the mix will be a little bit different because I did see, some wind damage, and I think that those claims would be appropriate. But clearly, when you're in those flood areas and you have the water rising like that into your living room, that is a flood.
Governor, speaking to people today about the insurance, they worry, sometimes, the insurance companies will shuffle their feet on a normal stance, on a normal situation. Now we have this where everyone's going to be flooding the insurance companies. What's your message to those people who might be worried that the insurance companies might not be acting fast enough?
Well, Jimmy, where's Jimmy at? Yeah, so, and I'll let him say, but, part of the disaster recovery are these insurance villages. He's done a great job of leading. He's getting the carriers all together, they're going to have a footprint in all these affected counties. People are going to be able to go and they're going to file claims. There's already been things done with our insurance regulation agency. Go back 10 days, none of those cancellations are valid, and you can't cancel going forward for another couple of months. So there's already actions being taken. But I'll let Jimmy come up and do that. And look, at the end of the day, we've had a lot of issues with property insurance, but a lot of that is because of lawsuits and a lot of things that don't focus on the core business. This is the core business of paying these claims, and we understand the time is of the essence.
Thanks, Governor.
Yep.
So we've got a preliminary site set up. We'll make sure it's coordinated with Kevin Guthrie's team in the county. But we'll probably pick a large spot. Initially, insurance carriers will come in. We'll probably have somewhere between 20 and 25 carriers come in. They'll probably set up in RVs, and they will start writing checks initially that will be living expense money. This will be the dollars just to help people go find a place to live, sustenance dollars. Then you'll be signed up where adjusters will come and inspect the damage. Now, here's the most important thing I need you to take away from this conversation is the predators that are going to come up, that are going to initially try to sign up construction management contracts, public adjusters. They're going to come in like a bunch of locusts, and they're going to try to hit the neighborhoods, and people are vulnerable right now. They're going to look for a solution, and their solution is always going to be important, but that solution is not going to be knocking on the door every time. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. So please, that first phone call that you're going to make needs to be to either your agent, your carrier, or to my office at 1-877-MY-FL-CFO. If one of the first three phone calls you make in your house in order to get insurance claim solved is to one of those threes, there's almost zero chance you can be taken advantage of. But Panama City was my hometown. I lived through Hurricane Michael. We did 12 insurance villages there over a year span. So we're going to be here bringing the carriers back, and they will write checks on site, okay? But when you start complicating the claim because you've allowed predators to get involved with your claim, you're going to drag it out. So the best solution is between you, your carrier, and us. The more people you bring into it, the harder it's going to be to get a settlement that's going to be fair for everybody. And look, at the end of the day, if your carrier doesn't want to work with you, that's when you'll call my office and we'll take them to task.
And I think and what I've asked Jimmy to do is also, have people with assistance for the National Flood Insurance Program claims. They obviously have their homeowners policy. Many people have both. But I think the issue is that some people live in areas where they're told you don't need flood, and so they don't do it. Well, now they may be in a situation where that is so. But bottom line is those who have the flood insurance want them to be able to file those claims. Take pictures of the damage of your home and have those so that you can present those and so you can get paid quicker. If you took pictures of the water line, if you have 4 feet of water, you took pictures, bring that with you. If the water's gone down but you see where the line was, take pictures and document that so that you can go in, present it, and there's not going to be any questions. But Jimmy made a good point. You start signing up, some of these people will swoop in and they'll want you to sign this stuff. It just hasn't worked out well in the past in Florida. Unfortunately, when you have disasters, there's some people that want to prey on people when they're in vulnerable situations, and we do not want that. The other thing I would also say, just from looking at some of the images that we've seen on TV, there's going to be a lot of automobile insurance claims potentially. I can tell you, my wife, we lost a car in Irma, and thank God we had USAA because they literally cut us a check very quickly. So hopefully all the auto insurance are going to be able to do that. But we literally we're seeing cars washed away, cars totally submerged, and so we understand that people are going to need to be able to get that claim. But when we did it with Irma, we got the check within like a week. They came out, they did it, they gave us the check, and honestly, it's not like losing a car only is like the worst thing in the world. I mean, we were fine, but I mean, to be able to have that, you know what you have to do. You need to buy a new car, you need to do. So I appreciate what Jimmy's doing. I think it's important to get the carriers in, to let people go, make these claims, and let's get these things processed as quickly as possible. All right, thanks everybody, appreciate it.